Oh, the punishment is light. Demotion by 2 rungs of the elder stock ladder and 10% less pay for the next 3 months for beating your student in front of several witnesses. And, in defiance of multiple witness claims, all reference to a bottle being used has been scrubbed from the final report. This is what the inevitably watered-down report says occurred. A party held by patrons for Isegahama stable wrestlers and coaches started on Friday 20th of February, then drifted into the early hours of February 21st. By 3 a.m. on the latter date, the group had moved to an exclusive members-only lounge, within which proud drinker Hakunofuji, somewhat unsure of his bearings, started stroking the thigh of a female guest, etc. is the wording used. A nearby patron, presumably an organizer, screamed out his disapproval and sent Hakunofuji out of the room. Master Isegahama, concerned what his charge might get up to in his inebriated state, brought Haku back into the room to make him apologize. Bidding Haku sit alongside him on a stylish sofa, the master said, "How many times are you going to screw up like this? You can't be drinking so damn much that you can't remember what happens. Do you get what I'm saying?" And when Haku appeared not to get this, the master elected to ram his point home with a fist to the left cheek and a further open-handed shot to the face. As what master says always goes, Hakunofuji accepted fault and apologized to his boss. What the master and Nishikifuji persuaded compliance chiefs to accept was that Hakunofuji had been grounded for getting drunk before, and the punch and slap were born out of dearest concern for his sumo future. That one more drunken episode could lead to him being thrown out. Depending on how minded they were to cover it up, I guess. With implicit reference to Master Nakagawa losing his stable over punching his charges 6 years ago, the report continues. As this is clearly an unforgivable act which not only contravenes the association's anti-violence code, but shows a lack of awareness as to how a master should carry himself, a heavy punishment would, at first glance, appear to be merited. However, as the violence was done from a seated position, and confined to a single punch and slap, we find it hard to portray this particular act as one of extreme malice. Also, the master's desire to admonish Hakunofuji for the error of slipping into inappropriate conduct towards the female guest, while not constituting a justifiable reason for this act of violence, at least points to appropriate motive. Furthermore, as this appears a single act, and violence does not seem an everyday occurrence at Isegahama stable, there seems no particular problem with general stable management, and the master did report things to the compliance chief voluntarily. Committee Chairman Kiyonuma has recommended to the Sumo Chairman Hakkaku that the matter be settled with demotion and docked pay. On Hakunofuji, the report says, his actions fall under both the compliance regulation referring to marked lack of dignity and the punishment regulation pertaining to damage to the association's honor. His scant regard for the dignity of the woman concerned is unforgivable. However, as she has still at this point not contacted the association to demand his punishment, and given Hakunofuji's clean disciplinary record so far, allied to his deep reflection over these particular actions, Committee Chair Kiyonuma recommends he not be formally disciplined and instead receive a severe reprimand from the Sumo Chairman. However, the Ex-Terunofuji cannot celebrate completely. The report concludes, "We believe he must be subjected to continual education and training, and will therefore place his stable under the supervision of both his stable group and the association itself, and demand regular progress reports. Furthermore, we demand that Master Isegahama's 4 assistant coaches now form together with him a group leadership structure to collectively manage training and all aspects of stable life." That should thwart any early attempts by him to get on the board. Perpetrator and victim have already addressed the news cameras. I deeply apologize for the fact my pointless actions have caused problems for so many, said a suited Master Isegahama. I do believe that violence is unforgivable, and yet I've still done what I've done, hence I have to look at myself again and make earnest efforts to reform going forward. I accept the association's sanctions and will earnestly do my best to regain everyone's trust. While kimono-clad Hakunofuji said, I am so sorry to my dear master, the Sumo Association, and the wider public for the commotion I have caused. I will demonstrate better awareness of my status as a sumo wrestler upholding Japanese traditional culture, and reform my thinking and actions so as to repay everyone I've hurt via great results in the ring. Nikkan Sports did well to finally confront new press chief Fujishima with specific examples of similar cases receiving harsher punishments. Fujishima responded, "We did reference past cases during our discussion this time, and nobody really objected to our decision in light of those. In the Miyagino case of 2 years ago, the violence was not reported until after it was discovered, meaning such violence was unnecessarily prolonged. The key difference here is that Master Isegahama self-reported. In the case of Nakagawa stable back in 2020, the violence and abuse took place over a year-long period, and of course was not self-reported. Here, the master only lashed out once, self-reported, and showed regret." Clear to the Chris Sumo channel, by way of a summing up, is that this decision is highly self-serving. It was voted through by a group of masters who must harshly discipline their own pupils and fear that any harsh measures here will one day come back and bite them. They will not openly condemn punching or slapping, as they have grown up with all of that, and can't imagine a sumo world without it. They were harsher with ex-Hakuho because they had beef specifically with him. They have no beef with Ex-Terunofuji, a key difference not mentioned by Fujishima. They use Hakunofuji's actions here as retrospective justification for hammering Hakuho. Look how his students turn out, kind of thing. Even though other charges of his maintain he did have strict enough rules on wrestler drinking. Finally, the chiefs also, despite this so-called era of athlete-level professionalism, declined to criticize the act of several leading stable members staying out until well beyond 3 a.m. For they want that culture to stay. For they themselves enjoy it, or at least some who bankroll them do. They've copped out yet again to save their entire structure.